All right, the Avalanche end 2023 with a win, with a couple of wins. So we'll discuss those and look at the January schedule for 2024, how it's kind of a complete opposite of what December was. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Avalanche.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure you're following us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and definitely subscribe to our subtext. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, and we get your opinions on everything Avalanche, which we share on this very podcast, like we will do later on when we talk about the Avs and the New York Islanders set for puck drop. First game of the new year for the Avs on Tuesday night. We'll get to that a little bit later, but we're going to start off, Mr. Sullivan, with the end of 2023, which was a victory for the Avs. That was over the San Jose Sharks, 3-1. And then backing up a little bit more because another game, over the weekend, essentially, against the St. Louis Blues, which they won that game too. So, a good end to 2023, but the Sharks game was like version 2.0 of the game they had earlier in the year where they were just throwing absolutely everything at them, absolutely like in control of most of the game, and really had 2 goals to show for it, and then you tack on an empty netter at the end. But 2 points is 2 points in this league, right? And I'm not trying to like sugarcoat it or anything like that, but we like to say like there's parity in this league. But should you look at like a team like San Jose, like you got to beat them a little bit more soundly? Or do you look at it as like that score should have been a more like handily won game, the way that all of those stats and all of those shots on goal, everything was in favor of the Avalanche. Just the scoreboard didn't reflect what was going on the ice.
Well, I think the same could be said about both games, the St. Louis game and the San Jose Sharks game. The second period didn't exist in either one of those games. The first period, you get out on the board, and the St. Louis, it was 2-1 in the St. Louis game. You had Ryjo getting the initial goal in the St. Louis game, and then an assist on the game winner in St. Louis. And then San Jose, statistically, you won everything that you should have. You were 1 for 6 on the power play, which is not great.
No.
But you win that game. Let's just say that one's also a 2-1 because that empty netter at the end, the Manson, like almost 200-foot goal, it makes the score look a little better, but it's almost the same thing. Nothing happened in that second period. And the third, you just had to get desperate. It was deep in the third, too.
Yeah. I'm looking at shots on goal for the San Jose game. First period was 10-3, all in favor of the Avs, 10-3. Second was 11-6. Third was 12-2. And I posted on Twitter that, after the first, it was, San Jose had 3 shots on goal in the first. They had a Corsi score of 7. So, that's just shots thrown towards the net that are also blocked shots. So they were not letting San Jose get anything, nothing. So defensively, things were looking pretty good for the Avalanche. That really held true for the majority of that game. I'm watching that San Jose game and I'm like, man, like you can't ask the Avalanche to do anything else other than score more goals, which just don't come, at the snap of your fingers in this league. But I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, the Avs like making, mediocre goalies look great. And this just feeds into that narrative for them. But if you're looking at it as a whole, like you go out there and you play that game again, there's no way that it's another 3-1 game. Avs easily could have hung 6 at least if you just play that game on a simulation again. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine. I know that, if there's like a subset of fans that are not happy with, you should have beat the Sharks by more than that. I feel like those are people that you can't please no matter what you do, rather than just looking at it as like, hey, as bad as the Sharks are, they're still trying. They're still going to play their game. They're still playing for contracts. They're still playing for prize. Still playing for something. They're not just going to roll over and die because they're expected to. And even having said that, I don't feel like they didn't play a very good game, San Jose, and Avalanche took advantage of everything. It's just one of those fluky games where like I said earlier, the score did not indicate what was going on the ice. That's just all I can say about that game.
And San Jose lost one of their really good defenders like early in that contest as well. And it's honestly, when you're looking back at that San Jose game, especially, you could say the Avalanche won despite going 1 for 6 on the power play, despite winning basically making the average goalies look incredible. It's gone from a cute joke to a problem, and that's something that needs to be shaken up a little bit. Like the Avalanche, they're sitting like 4 for 5, 4 wins in the last 5 games, and that loss is the Arizona comeback.
Yeah.
So when it comes to restoring like your kind of the faith in the Avalanche way, I feel like the offense just needs to. Great, you could shoot the puck at the net. Congratulations, this is the NHL. You need to do just a little bit more, maybe mix it up a little bit. I don't know if it's pass it around for one more shot or drive and work on rebounds. I don't know what it is, but something needs to. You could get the puck to the net, which is great, but you need to do something getting it in the net. And I feel like that's where the Avalanche need to go.
They did the extra pass a couple times in the Sharks game. And, I never like when they do that, when someone has a solid shot, a solid look, and they just give that extra pass and it was getting like tipped or intercepted. And I like, of course you're mad at it, but I'm like, man, like they're going to have more opportunities in this game, where there's been other games where it's like, if they do that, you're like, you just gave up a golden opportunity and I don't know when you're going to have another one. But in the Sharks game, it's like they're just creating opportunity after opportunity. Yeah, maybe that was one too many passes, but I'm pretty confident here in another minute or so, when they regain possession, they'll have another look. And you mentioned the power plays. 1 for 6 is not good, but they also had 1 4-on-3, rare as they come, and they had 1 5-on-3. And I don't know what it is, but and tell me if I'm wrong, but I always feel like when the Avalanche have that, like those more rare power plays, they slow down more.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, like you should be like passing it around quicker if you're asking me, because you're again, once again, you're just making the defense not really work for anything, especially in a 5-on-3. They just stay in that triangle, and the Avalanche too often look for the perfect setup on a 5-on-3, and especially the 4-on-3. I just feel like they move a gear slower when they have those better power play opportunities like they had, and they just let them go. But like, when's the last time they scored on a 5-on-3? It's not like you have them all the time, but I don't know, man. It's just something that I noticed, and it was kind of like a little bit infuriating.
No, you're absolutely dead on. I think the Avalanche keep forgetting that when you have that extra man advantage, that 4-on-3, 5-on-3, they're looking for their perfect shot, but they're also forgetting the thing that opens up that perfect shot: exhaust the defense. If you start passing it around to Gretzky's office and making that, usually when that happens, the 3 get into that triangle formation and they just sit there the entire advantage. If you start making them come out to you and making them skate around and tire them out a little bit, work it all the way around across instead of just in that rainbow formation up on that blue line. If they do just a little bit more, and I feel like that's what you could get for both games, because we're talking about special teams. The one goal for St. Louis was a shorthanded goal. Like if you
Bad
do
pass
just
by McKinnon too.
Yeah, it was a terrible, terrible mistake. If you just do a little bit more, we're getting a good baseline, which is what we were asking after the losing streak. A little baseline. That's good. Now we need a little bit more, because on special teams, you could get that perfect shot. You could get that perfect highlight goal if you do just a little bit more and exhaust the defense. Nathan McKinnon with that giveaway shorthand goal in the St. Louis game, just slow down a little bit more. Look where your guy is.
Well, that
Just
was
a little bit more.
He just expected Cale Makar to be there because they were on the power play, obviously. And I think I'm just going to blind pass this because I know Cale will be. And that's where they're thinking like they're so in tune with each other. And it's like, well, you just can't assume that, man. Like, I get it, but you just cannot assume that. And look at the results were.
And that same mentality of the blind pass also is what led to the 2-1 score in the San Jose game, to the Nichushkin goal. That was 2 blind passes all the way across the ice to Nichushkin, who was wide open. Nobody was anticipating that. Beautiful shot.
Yeah. So two very different games. The St. Louis game was just a grinding, I liked that game. I thought that was an entertaining game, but it was just a brutal, just kind of back and forth type of game, just exchanging unpleasantries, as they say in a game like that. And then the Sharks game was just a wide open game for the Avs, and they could just do what they wanted to do and just didn't have a lot to show for it. All of that plus Sammy G was back, which absolutely loved to see, and thought he was fine. Like, you saw, I think he only played 16 minutes.
You are correct. It was like 16:48, something like that.
18.
So
maybe they were lightening his load just a little bit in his first game back, which I understand, but you saw what, a difference he can make. He is so good at transition. He's so good at it. And the Avs, that's been an area that they have been struggling, is defensive end turnovers. It's been brutal, and he can help with that. He can help. The other guys have to do, just because Sammy G's back doesn't mean the other guys just all of a sudden get better in that. They have to, get better themselves. But he's really good at it. He's Cale Makar level of getting pucks out of the defensive zone. So that is welcome back.
Yeah, you could feel Sammy G's presence back, and just the confidence in the defense. And you mentioned Cale Makar; he had 28 minutes, so his minutes haven't shortened up at all.
That's not going
but
over.
2 shots for Samuel Girard as well, so that's also goes into the confidence. So you expect going into that Islanders game a kind of more in tune Sam Girard, and maybe you see more shot discrepancies because of that kind of mentality, and the defense feeling a little bit more comfortable and not like it's the next man up. It's, we could do our thing because everybody's back. So you can hopefully build on this confidence going into the Islanders game and the rest of January.
I was really hoping he would get a goal. I know he's not a goal scorer or anything like that, but God, on home ice, the first couple times he touched the puck, the crowd just, it was almost like he was getting a standing ovation while he was carrying the puck up the ice. Would have been just icing on the cake if he had gotten a goal in that game. Would have been beautiful. So you mentioned the Islanders game. That is the first game up for the Avs in January and for the new year. So we'll see what the rest of the schedule looks like for January and the Colorado Avalanche, and we will do that coming up next. First, we're going to hear from FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can get that $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. And now you can get that $150 win or lose. Used to be if your team won on that $5 bet, you get the $150. Now, win or lose, you get $150 in bonus bets in your account, and the app is super easy to use. There's many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab and make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet. Make that bet a layup, Kai. A layup or a slam dunk?
Make it a slam dunk with authority.
Yes, to the house. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. All right, Lee, we're going to look at our January schedule here. So let me move some things around here. If you are watching over on YouTube, there it is. So I think I can zoom in a little bit here. Last
Pull it
month
up
we
on
were
picture over here.
yeah we were talking about how December was maybe like a little bit easier. And this month maybe looks a little bit more difficult. You just look at the red and the white. You have 6 home games and you have 6 road games. However, 5 of those road games are in a row.
Yep.
So we'll just go through this here. You have the game Tuesday, that's against the Islanders. Then you're on the road against Dallas. That a lot of people look forward to that one. And then you are home against Florida, a 3-game homestand. Florida, Boston, and Vegas.
Say that one more time. One more time.
Florida, Boston, and Vegas.
Okay.
Why am I saying that again?
Florida, Boston, and Vegas with this team that just eked out 2-1 over the Blues, who are sniffing the bottom of the Central, and the San Jose Sharks, a 3-1 with an empty netter.
Yeah.
You have
and
Florida,
you know, and
Boston,
at the game prior to it with Dallas. So you're going Dallas, Florida, Boston, Vegas, and then add the one after that in Toronto. So that is a tough 5-game stretch right there. And that Toronto game is the start of your 5-game road trip. The first 3 of those in Canada. So you're in Toronto, day off, and then a back-to-back in Montreal and in Ottawa. Road back-to-backs always stink. And I know, the distance from Montreal to Ottawa is not that far, but still, back-to-backs on the road aren't fun. So you do that, 3 games in 4 days in Canada, and then you have a day off, and then you come back and you play the Bruins again, this time in Boston, day off, and then in Philly, and that ends your road trip. And then you have 3 days off, and you have a home game against the Capitals. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Home game against the Capitals, home game against the Kings to end your January, because the week after that, you're off for the week because that leads up to the All-Star game. All in all, that's a tough January schedule, man.
It's brutal. It's brutal. And this is one of those that I wish this was the beginning of the season where you can have that confidence that you had. Where you're like, oh, bring it on. This Avalanche team could mow down whoever's in their way. We just witnessed a weekend, 2023, how the Avalanche finished it out. Just showing that they could do everything in their power and barely beat the Sharks. And do everything in their power and struggle against the St. Louis Blues. But win. I understand it's wins. But the full 60, you're going to have to pull a little bit more, again, in a full 60 effort against half of your opponents in January. And then those that you really don't have to, you're on the road in Canada in a back-to-back road games. Not fun. This is just not in the Avalanche favor.
No, and even, your games against, I mean, all of these, with the exception of Ottawa and Montreal and Washington. Where's Washington in the standings? It's just.
I think they got to be. Let's see. They have to be spiraling. Let me look.
Yeah, they are. They're in 5th right now. Wow, they're 17, 11, and 6. Believe it or not, they've lost 4 in a row. Wow.
Right behind the New York Islanders.
The Islanders, right? So okay, so I mean that's a pretty decent record right now. That's 40 points. So really, the Senators and Canadians are the only teams that are your lower end teams right now. Everybody else is middle or top of the division, including Philly. Philly's still hanging tough in there right now. 19, 12, and 5 right now for Philly.
And the thing about Ottawa, it might be a lower tier opponent, but my goodness, it's a meat grinder. You're expected to come out of the Ottawa game healthy. Like you're putting it's a physical game. They play and so does Philly. It's a physical team.
Mm-hmm.
Boston, Philly, and Ottawa. It's also going to be difficult to get wins, but you also know this is the Colorado Avalanche. The injury bug flies around. It's the natural habitat is Ball Arena. Mm-hmm. The injury bug lives there. So keeping this team healthy and together through the month of January is also going to be another challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at this and that 5-game stretch is going to be the one that really defines it, and that's right off the bat.
Yep.
You know, you got the Islanders game, and then you got those next 5 games. I know some people are going to look at that and kind of be like that could define who you are, because that's what a lot of people will look at, how you do against upper echelon teams. And you know, the Avs, you're going to have 5 of them right in a row, and you know, 3 at home, 2 on the road, so a little bit kind of split down the middle, but um, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be difficult, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes as a team, especially has up and down as the have been this year. You know, we always say like going on the road sometimes kind of corrects things. You're looking at this January schedule and it's a little bit daunting. Sometimes you get up for that. Say, all right, let's go. Let's turn the gears on and let's do this thing and let's show people, man, you rattle some of those off. Um, man, you come out of that with a pretty good record, and you'll turn some heads, and you'll right the ship just based on that alone. Because you can always go back to that. Like that stretch of 5 games right there, brutal, and we survived that pretty handily. So that's what you want. Not saying that's what you're going to get, but that's what you want. We'll see how it
And
goes.
the Avalanche are known to having really good Januaries. So why not this month? Why not us?
Exactly. No, January's been good to the Avs. So let's see. Let's see how they do. Turn it around. I'm not saying turn it around like they're doing poorly, but um,
A little
yeah,
bit more.
yeah, lot to prove in this month. That's for sure. And then ending it against the Kings. You know, there's a lot of, man, Vegas is always one that you're always looking at. Dallas is one that you're always looking at, and then Kings at the end of the month there. So we'll see. We'll see how this thing goes. It's is if I'm gonna say it's make or break, because I think the Avs are still sitting pretty, but like I said, I keep going back to those 5 games. Man, I haven't seen that in a while. That's gonna be a haul, man. It's gonna be a haul.
And
We'll
the
see.
Central's tight enough to where if you're streaking the other way, you're climbing back up the rest of the way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's focus in on the first game of it. You got to do it one at a time, Kyle, and one at a time. And that first one is up against the New York Islanders. So we're going to discuss that coming up next. All right, Avs and Islanders. We were at the last time that these two teams played, if you remember that game.
And we broke the Avalanche. They haven't been the same since.
No, that's true. Yeah, that was early in the year. All right, so I mean, what's the Islanders? I mean, they're hanging in there. You know what I mean? Like we just said, they were just above the Capitals, 17, 10, and 9, 43 points. But recently they've been that back and forth team. They've been that win, lose, win, lose. Let me get their last. I think I got to put it here. Yeah, going back to a game against the Canadians, they lost that. Then they beat the Oilers, who have really turned things around. And then they lost to the Capitals. Then they beat the Hurricanes. Then they lost to the Penguins. Then they beat the Capitals. Then they lost to the Penguins again. And here we are against the Avs. So if things are going in order for the Islanders, they should win this game just based on win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. That's not how things go, however. So what are we expecting in this game?
This is your just run of the mill 75 overall NHL 24 team, like a C plus. Everything for the New York Islanders right now is middle of the road. They don't have a stat that cracks the top 10. They're getting production from everybody, but not enough to make a dent. It's just survive. And this team, you mentioned that, yes, they're tied with the New Jersey Devils in points, but they're living off the quote unquote loser points. They have 9 of those. So
It's crazy.
Yes, but this is one of those that we just talked about how brutal January is. This is where the Avalanche could take this just middle of the road team. There really is no bright future, and there really is no reason to implode this Islanders team. They're just sitting there hovering. So the Avalanche could easily take this team and make an example of how you should be playing, because this is probably going to be one of the easier matchups you're going to have for the rest of the month of 2024 in January. So you better take advantage of opportunities like this, because it's not going to get easier through the rest of the month.
Good point for in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, I think the Islanders do things well, and not exceedingly well, and they don't do things exceedingly poorly. Like they're it's kind of like the Avalanche. Like you don't know what you're going to get out of them, but if they're good, I don't want to say watch out for them, but they can give you a game. They have scores on this team.
They've been
Matthew
the exact
Barzal's
same team for a decade.
They have. They really have. They had that one good year where they were kind of exceeding expectations and they didn't do anything in the playoffs. But other than that, it's kind of like the same thing year in and year out with the Islanders. The year that they started off where they didn't play a home game until like December, I kind of give them a pass on because they're building their new arena. But they have some scores. Matthew Barzal, he's got 36 points in 35 games. Bo Horvat's got 35 points in 35 games. Noah Dobson, defender that doesn't get a ton of credit, I feel, because there's so many good defensemen in this league. He's got 35 points in 36 games. So they have some offensive ability, but they have maybe arguably the best goalie tandem in the league. And that's where the Avalanche could, here we go. They struggled against San Jose goaltending, two different goaltenders on San Jose. I just struggled to score. I mean, if they were struggling to just create shots and then not scoring, then we have a problem here. But I'm okay with, you created a bunch of shots. That can't keep happening game after game after game, different goalie after different goalie after different goalie. But for this game, I don't know who's going to be in net for the Islanders, but they have a solid goaltending unit, and I would think it's going to be a challenge for the Avs.
Yeah, especially like Binnington makes you look like you do, and then it doesn't matter honestly whoever San Jose puts in the net, because apparently they're Dominic Hasek reincarnated, because you could give them all the shots in the world and you can't keep, like we said in the first segment, you can't keep getting away with making average goalies look great, because there's no escape against the Islanders, because both goalies are great. And
yeah,
in the state of goalies right now, the goalie market, let's 2 or 3 starting goalies that have ended up on the AHL and been placed on waivers so far this year because of just their performances so far this year. The Islanders don't have that problem. Nope. They have a really good stable, a really solid defense, and scorers that can hurt you when they want to. So you can't go into this New York Islander game flat-footed, because they will take advantage of you, and then you're left there with 2 points that you should have had.
I'm trying. When's the last Islanders game? Let's see. They played.
This will also wrap up the season series between the two.
Yeah, it will. So they played the 31st. So they've had the same amount of time off as the Avalanche. I would think you're getting Sorokin here. I would just guess that. Sorokin has a worse save percentage than Varlamov. And Sorokin has a pretty good save percentage at 912. And Varlamov has a 918. And I know Varlamov has played less games, but still, like that's pretty solid. So no matter who they put in net, it's going to be a challenge for the Avs. We'll see what they can do. It's a good test. It's another good test. Some people on subtext weighed in. We got Madam Battleaxe. Good evening, gents from New York City. I did ask any New Year's resolutions that they had. She has a New Year's resolution of, because she's in New York City, to wear her Avs gear as much as possible to every place she goes to in New York City. So I think she's visiting there. Isn't she from Florida? I think she said she's from Florida.
I believe so.
I mean, yeah. So I have all the faith in the world that you can visit every single pizza joint in New York City wearing Avalanche gear. Good luck with that. And her prediction, I truly want to think we will win, but I'm so nervous as to who will show up or what Avs team will continue to play the game. I think the score will be 3-2, and I'm hoping this will go the way of the Avs. And this year, she's hoping the Avs right the ship and stay consistent. And then she said, Happy New Year. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I think that's my New Year's resolution as far as the Avalanche goes, to just take it a game at a time and stop looking at like the bird's eye view of it. And like, are they going to right the ship? Are they going to right the ship? No, this is just until they do, it's just one game at a time.
Yeah, I that's all I want. That consistency word. My goodness, that's all I want.
Keegan, the Avalanche train is starting to get back on the right track, so why not keep it rolling with another win at home against a middle of the road Islanders team? The Avs should take care of business 5-2. I'll say 2 power play goals from the first power play unit.
Ooh,
there you go. He says since he lives on the East Coast, one of his resolutions is to sleep in after the nights where the Avs play till midnight. I feel you, bro.
What you talk about?
And then Easton, he did the old tried and true get back into shape resolution. Not to get so emotionally invested in games as well. Good luck with that.
Yeah,
Easton,
it only gets worse.
Playoff time. Yeah, especially on playoff time. And he said, I think we beat the Islanders 3-2. What do you think? What do you think the score is on this one?
I'm surprised my Battle Axe didn't go for an overtime, because this has all the feel of a 5-4 overtime game.
Oh man, I don't know if it's gonna be that high. I would be shocked if it's 5-4. I'd love to see if they can get 3. I think that's good. Not to say the Avs can't score. We know they can score. It's just like Madam Battle Axe was saying, like which one is gonna show up?
Yeah,
I don't know. So I would love a like 2-1 game, because then that means Georgiev played well, and then you got a couple past them, those good goalies of the Islanders. So that's I'm just thinking a low scoring, and the Islanders are not very physical. So I don't. Maybe this could be a little bit on the boring side, unless the Avalanche are the ones that pick things up. But overall, I think it's going to be just Avalanche are going to try to play their speed game, and the Islanders are just going to be in position on defense like they always are, not giving the Avalanche much, and then just hopefully, getting a couple on their end. So Georgiev's got to be up for the task. This is one of those games where it's like you would think the Islanders are not going to have a ton of chances, and if they capitalize on those chances, they're going to win. Because so Georgiev has got to shut those chances down, and the Avalanche got what they do on the offensive end.
This is a do your job blue collar game. The Avalanche need to win. As long as they do their job, the Avalanche will get 2 points.
We'll see how it goes, and however it goes, we will talk about it on tomorrow's episode. So tune into that one. But for this one, thank you for making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.